What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Sweat, presented by DraftKings on Bally Sports Networks. I'm Jessie Coffield. 1 hour of NFL DFS sports betting goodness coming your way. We got tons of analysts here to help you out with those lineups, including some heavy hitters. We got Ross Tucker, we got Pat Mayo, and please do not forget that you can get in on the action and take a shot at winning a boatload of cash with the DraftKings Millie Maker. More than $3 million up for grabs. Just head on over to the DraftKings lobby, and for $20, you can enter this classic format DFS contest that has a grand prize of $1 million. You have less than an hour to get those lineups in. Plus, not only does the winner pick up a cool $1 million, they also earn a seat to our DraftKings Tournament of Champions, the ultimate DFS contest for the best of the best in fantasy, which will take place in January. And the winner there is going to walk away with another $1 million and this bling-tastic ring. Okay, plenty of fantasy advice to offer here on this show, but we also, like I said, we're into sports betting here. So someone who's gonna help me out with that is my co-host, Emerson Lotzia.
All right, TV Jessie Coffield, let's go! All right, guys, here for a segment we call Early Edge. You guys give us your favorite bets for the slate this weekend, for today, or tomorrow. By the way, congratulations, 3-0 last week.
Oh my God!
Early Edge bets.
What unbelievable!
Give yourself a round of applause.
No, but it was nice of Reed and Steve to join me with some winners.
Yeah, it has been a rough week for a few of you, but
Two of
all right, let's go ahead. We'll start with you, Jules. You're not even looking at
As is
today. You're
tradition.
looking at tomorrow for your favorite
Oh
bet.
my God!
I know, this is ridiculous.
It's best bets. I got to give the people the best bet. You want bets today? I like the Bengals -3. I like the Niners -3.
Okay.
Best bet is on Monday. Here's a 3-pack of bets for you.
Wow!
All 3-point spreads, but we're going with the dog on Monday night. We're going with the Patriots. 6-0 straight up. 6-0 ATS. I don't need to tell you that the Patriots are hot right now, but I'm just going to keep betting them until they do wrong by me, and they've been doing right every week. And we look at these last games. The Falcons, it opens 4, goes to 7. Can't bet them, the value's gone. Tennessee opens 2.5, 3, moves to 7. Can't bet them, the value's gone. What do? They blow out both games and easily cover. Buffalo's going to be a test. This is a real road game on Monday night. The crowd's going to be a factor. We're going to see what Mac Jones has. But I like the Pats to get it done. I think that they are in a good place right now with a run-pass balance. I think the defense, even without a guy like Duggar, is in a good spot. Get some pressure on Josh Allen, force some turnovers. I think that'll be the difference in the game. I like the wind factor maybe helping with the run. I know we don't do weather here.
No.
Rain doesn't matter. Snow doesn't matter. Temperature doesn't matter. Wind matters in football games. Even Steve Buchanan will tell you that. Give me the Pats +3 on Monday Night Football.
The weather, Steve, and I know you love to talk about it, it does not look pretty tomorrow night. This is most likely going to be Mac Jones' toughest test up to this point in his rookie year. Hostile environment.
Passed every
on
test
the
so
road,
far.
in the elements, first place on the line, and the weather.
And the biggest factor, that is in favor of the Patriots is that Tre'Davious White is out for the season. That has been the biggest factor, one of the biggest factors for the Bills in locking down opposing wide receivers. Now he is out of the mix. I love this play here. We talked about this on the Unreasonable Odds podcast. This is one of the best teaser legs, teaser pieces that you can use, getting the Patriots up to +9. And then you mentioned the Dolphins too. Is that correct?
Love the spot for the Dolphins. The number's perfect at 6.5 with Miami.
So I like this bet a lot too. I think the Patriots pull out the upset here as the underdogs.
Steve makes a good point here with Tre'Davious White out. You know that's probably going to create a hole that Belichick will no doubt try to exploit tomorrow night.
Yeah, and I think the biggest question mark is, like you mentioned, like who have they faced, right? The thing about the Patriots, though, is that the bad teams that they faced over the last 5 weeks, they've won handily, right? There has been no question that the Patriots have beat these bad teams. The last teams that we've seen the Patriots have issues with back in Week 6, Dallas Cowboys, they lost that 35-29. They put up 29 points against that defense that we saw on Thursday night score 17 fantasy points. Now, it's a different story, right? But again, you take a look at the teams that they faced. Sam Darnold and the Carolina Panthers. Baker Mayfield, who's been banged up in every extremity
he's
possible.
Not great this year.
Like, and Steve mentioned this last week with Tennessee. They had no skill players that acquired over 275 total yards on that team. So this, again, is tough test. And Kyle Duggar, you mentioned it. He was put on the COVID list, I think, early, like on Monday or Tuesday, maybe Monday. Because this game is on Monday, if he has 2 negative tests and he's he can essentially come back, that's a big piece. But they have Adrian Phillips on that defense that can fill in that role. I like this a lot, but again, it's the Bills. I think that they've had a tougher test up to this point. They have to win this game.
And they're coming off extended rest, too.
The Buffalo
off the Thanksgiving
Bills
game.
have to win this game on Monday night. I know those things are more narrative-based, but the Patriots don't have to win this, and they'll still be fine in their position. I'm just saying I think it means a little bit more for the Bills.
And the Pats 4-1 ATS in the last 5 games on the road. We know the Bills have delivered some puzzling performances this season. It's been a puzzling month, really, for the Rams. Yeah. The Lions had a better record in the month of November. They just had a tie against Pittsburgh. Better record in the month of November than the Rams, who did not win a game.
Good stat.
But that's where. Thank you very much.
You're
going to LA for your favorite bet today.
I'm going to Tinseltown. I'm going to LA. First half, a -7 for the Rams. I think similar to the Bills, like we just talked about on Thanksgiving against the Saints, right? This is a team that, when you talk about all of the ancillary stats around it, absolutely need this. I don't think that the Rams and a lot of us in the market realized how important Robert Woods was to this team.
Yeah.
And when he went down, what it did to their offense. And we're seeing that right now. But look, the last time the Jags, America's team based off of what Emerson likes to say, the last time they went west to Seattle, it was 17-0 at half against Geno Smith.
And they were coming off their bye. They had an extra week to prepare, and they did not look prepared.
They let Geno Smith put up, and the Seattle Seahawks, and we've seen their offense, guys, but Geno Smith put up 31 points against them. They scored 0 in the first half. I know this is a different story, and the Rams are beating up against bad teams as well. 38-11 against the Giants, 28-19 against Detroit, 38-22 against Houston, right? That's what you like to see, and I know Darrell Henderson is going to be banged up, but I don't know how much Sony Michel is a downgrade from Darrell Henderson.
Big.
It's
a big downgrade?
Not in terms of what they want to do.
I mean, it's still the
right.
Jaguars.
Not in terms of what they want to do on the offensive side. And Jacksonville ranks last in pass DVOA. Absolutely last. DVOA is just holistic, weighted stat. Right. It bases off of the strength of schedule and the strength of defensive players. Jacksonville is last in pass. I think Stafford, even though he's injured, I know these guys don't like Stafford because he's injured. I still think these guys put up a lot of points early in that first half. Give it to me at -7.
I mean, Steve, it feels like a get-right spot for the Rams. Stafford has struggled over the past month. He's going to be out to prove that he's still a star quarterback here. And the Jags secondary has been torched all season long, and now they got Kupp, Beckham, and Van Jefferson to deal with.
So here's the interesting thing about what you just said, though. So we have this perception that the Jaguars have been torched, right, in their secondary. Some of the numbers will back that up. 4 quarterbacks have thrown for over 300 yards against the Jaguars. That hasn't happened now in 5 straight games. In fact, over the last 5 games, 4 of those quarterbacks haven't thrown more than 195 yards. The only one that's been able to do that in that span was Josh Allen in that game where he threw for 269. Now we have Matt Stafford coming in, banged up, like every inch of his body is bruised, battered, and beaten. I don't know what's going on with this guy. What does he do when he's not on the field? He's getting beat up or something? I don't know. He's got all these injuries coming up all over the place. Now, he did throw over 300 yards last week with all those injuries, but he completed, and Julian brought up like 51% of the pass attempts that he had last week.
55% at Green Bay, which was his season low by like over 10%.
Yep. So here's the question now. Is it that the Jags are playing better defensively, and now they're going to get Matt Stafford at maybe one of his weakest points? Is this a sneaky spot where the Jags maybe cover in this game?
Oh, okay.
It might be.
So you're not feeling the first half.
I'm not feeling the Rams, period.
Okay.
I'm not feeling the Rams, period.
I mean, look, it's fine. It's just I get the idea that Jacksonville Jaguars are a good defense, but look at
I didn't say good. I've said they've been playing
America's
better.
defense.
Right. Like the whole 300-yard stat matters. The whole 300-yard stat matters if you're playing quarterback props, which we're not.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, Sony Michel.
But what would you say to 195 and below for the last 5 games? What would you say to that?
But look at the quarterbacks that they've faced. Can you name the quarterbacks that they faced? The Matt Ryan, who is like a shell of himself, Jimmy Garoppolo, right? That 9-6 atrocity against Buffalo where Josh Allen couldn't do anything. I mean, and then the Colts who have Carson Wentz and Jonathan Taylor who just runs for 400 yards every single game.
That's all he does.
So they don't need to throw for over 300 yards. I'm saying that the Rams, they need this. They've been bad over the last 3 games.
Dude,
absolutely bad, and it just feels like one of these games where the Rams are at home and the Jacksonville Jaguars do not travel well at all. Their offensive line, their defense, like you mentioned, this is and the coaches too. It's just is one of those spots where
consistently look unprepared.
Yeah,
the Rams need this game. The Jags do not. Does this first half line almost feel too short when you consider that, Jules?
I mean, so I'm looking at the splits right now from DraftKings Sportsbook. 77% of the bets for 89% of the handle on the Rams. They're a heavily bet side, both publicly and sharp, you would think, with the 12% gap there between tickets and money, which is bets and handle. So it's a spot. 0-5 against the spread the last 5 games for the Rams, and now they're laying 13.5. Doesn't feel great, but that's why you're looking to the first half, Reed, which I would definitely go. If you told me you got to bet the Rams first half or full game, I'm going first half. I think Reed is correct there. The Rams need to make a statement here. It's just the Jags are always playing with house money. There's no pressure there, really. As you can tell, I don't have much of a take on the game. I'm not betting the game, but the Rams need to come out. If the Rams don't cover the first half in this game, they have an issue going on there.
Okay, so from the Jags to a former Jags legend, that's going to be Mike Glennon. He's going to be under center for the Giants, who are in Miami, and that's where we go for your favorite bet, Steven.
Yeah, look, this Dolphins team continues to be undervalued. This team is so much better over the past month or so. This is a Dolphins team that, if they were healthy, would have made much more noise in the AFC East in the beginning of the season than, losing 7 in a row or whatever it was. Over the last 5 games, they allowed an average of 14.4 points in that span. In 3 of those games, 10 points or less. Now you're telling me that the Dolphins need to stop Mike Glennon. He's very tall. That's the only thing I can say well about Mike Glennon, okay? He's going to have no Sterling Shepard in this one. Tony likely out in this one. Nobody is stepping up in this offense to take that wide receiver 1 role from Sterling Shepard, who's been out of there. You look at Kenny Golladay. They're a big signing over the offseason. Over his last 3 games, 6 catches for 90 yards. I wouldn't say that's overly productive for who should be the wide receiver 1 in this offense. So the Dolphins are playing much, much better defensively. How are the Giants going to score in this one? -6.5. If this team was healthy in the beginning of the year, you would never, ever, ever see -6.5 against a banged-up Giants team. This is a joke of a line. Take the 6.5 and don't even think about it.
All right, Reed, finishing. They're finding their offensive groove here. Their offensive pop around Tua.
Yeah.
You've got Jalen Waddle breaking out. Myles Gaskin looks better in the backfield. Is Steve on to something here?
Yeah, Steve has done this trend where he just bets against bad teams, and this is what you should do, right? That is definitely what you should do and think about, is betting against bad teams. And the Giants right now are a bad team, right? Freddie Kitchens, I don't know if he really brings much more than what Jason Garrett was doing on the offensive side. But the one thing that worries me about these, right, these touchdown-like games, these touchdown spreads, when they're at this number for the game total at 40, that's extremely low. When you get touchdown over that 7 points, at this low of a total number, it becomes very easy for a backdoor cover, because what we're looking at is that there's potential for that. I'm not saying
pounding the desk.
I'm not saying it's happening, but I'm saying that you have to think about these low total games with a touchdown favorite. And look, it could come out where it's 35-0. So Miami's up 35-0, and then you cover that by a lot. I'm just saying, be careful. But yeah, if there's one side, absolutely, the Dolphins have to be it, because Mike Glennon, if not tall, a very long neck as well.
Yeah. You know what it is? You know what it is? I poo-pooed on his Rams bet, so he just had to say something.
No.
That's all it is.
I said you're on the right side.
If I agreed with the Rams, he wouldn't have said anything. He just would have
It's
agreed.
the juice cleanse. It's always the juice
It's
cleanse.
finally off the juice cleanse, and he's
Steve did
still
a
the
cleanse,
same individual.
and he's
Still the
very
same
angry.
person, same positive attitude. The Dolphins are good covering at home against teams with losing records. 91 ATS in the last 10 home games against a team with a losing record, Jules.
Yeah, this is neat. I kind of just sit back today and let Steve and Reed argue.
I'm
and
digging it, dude.
I don't have to be the bad guy. It's kind of fun.
Idiot.
It's thank you. It's too many points for me to lay. Hello, Steven. With Miami, especially considering it's 4 earlier in the week. Like, I'm not going to rush to bet the Dolphins -6.5 because the value is gone. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little stubborn with getting the best number, but the Dolphins are going to win the game. And like Reed said, I will bet against a bad team. I will take betting against a bad team before I will take betting on a good team every day of the week when it comes to the NFL. So I like being against the Giants, but the Dolphins are sneakily becoming a much better team, like we thought they would be preseason.
4
kind of
straight wins.
a 500 type of team that contends in the division, threatens for a playoff spot, and then they have the 1-7 start that easily could have been 0-8 if Damian Harris doesn't fumble in New England in week 1. Miami's good now, though, and they're going to win this game. So I like him as a teaser leg or a money line parlay piece very much.
Yep.
Yeah, only way it feels like the Giants are going to produce some offense is through Barkley, and stopping the run is the Miami defense strength. Gentlemen, we're just getting started here on the Sweat. Coming up, We're going to take a look at some interesting playoff futures available on the DK Sportsbook. But right now, it's time to satisfy your craving for DFS knowledge by listening to Pat Mayo's favorite stacks and values on the Week 13 slate.
That sounds excellent.
You're welcome.
I'm Pat Mayo with your Week 13 DraftKings picks. Taking a look at the DFS main slate on Sunday. So early games, late games, no Sunday Night Football included. When we think about game stacks this week, there is one game that really does jump out amongst the rest. If you want to go with the highest point total, that's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Atlanta Falcons game. However, it's going to be all Bucks in that side of everything. The only two possible names that you would want to use from the Atlanta side of the ball would be Cordero Patterson, or maybe, listen, you don't want Kyle Pitts here. He's been awful as the number one for teams can just take out Kyle Pitts. Maybe Russell Gage, but you probably don't want that side of the ball. With no Antonio Brown, you have to pick your poison of who you're going to leave out because you have four viable options to put up with Tom Brady. Fournette coming off the big week, Rob Gronkowski, who's been excellent since returning from his ribs injury, Godwin, and Mike Evans. I would just go with the very safe fact of going Brady, Evans, and Gronk, and just shoot for that touchdown upside that comes along with that receiving stack and correlate it all together. But the game that I want to go to is Chargers and Bengals. Both these teams' defenses, not great. And you can take advantage of the Chargers in any which way. Joe Mixon's likely to be the most popular play at running back on the daily fantasy slate on DraftKings this week. I completely get it. Maybe a way to get away from some of that ownership is just look to the same offense, just not Joe Mixon, and bring it back the other way with an Austin Eckler, and hopefully he can get going out of the backfield. So you go Burrow, Higgins, Jamar Chase, easily can take advantage of the Chargers defense, and then Austin Eckler back the other way. You still get access to this high total game, but you have different pieces than a lot are going to have, thus making your lineup a little bit different. The one stack I do like a lot, which is not going to be very highly owned whatsoever and a little bit cheaper than maybe you'd expect, is the San Francisco offense against Seattle. I think that San Francisco scores a ton of points in this game. Maybe they'll want to run the ball, but without Debo, it really becomes clear at receiver who's going to do damage. So you need to get some luck that Jimmy G throws for these touchdowns and Elijah Mitchell does not run them in. But you can go Jimmy G, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, which is a much cheaper stack than you would see in other places. Now, you can bring it back with DK or Tyler Lockett or not and just play the San Francisco side of this ball, have those savings, then go to your value guys. But who are the value guys this week? Well, they basically all exist at running back. It is a great week for the mid-tier, cheaper running back than we've seen in quite some time. No DeAndre Swift means Jamal Williams is going to be one of the higher-owned players, but he's also incredibly cheap this week at $5,400. But you don't even need to go to him. Antonio Gibson with likely no J.D. McKissick, $5,700. James Conner against the Cardinals and no Chase Edmonds and a non-existent Eno Benjamin, $5,900. Eli Mitchell, who I just mentioned, $6,000 against Seattle. We might get into a circumstance, too, where Darrell Henderson is inactive Sunday against the Jags, which would mean Sony Michel is $4,300 as the starting running back for the Rams. There are myriad options you can use at running back this week if you do want to save some of that money and get great value. Now, you can pay up for Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris. Obviously, Joe Mixon is in a fantastic spot. All these high-end running backs are in great spots. They just tend to be very, very expensive, where if you wanted to pay up at receiver, you would need to go to this middle tier, which I'm talking about at running back. If you want to pay and get the value at wide receiver, I think that there are two very clear options. You can pick your poison at the top with the very top end guys. There's really no rhyme nor reason who's going to catch 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. You got to get lucky with that one. But you want value this week? Hunter Renfrow, $5,800. No Darren Waller against the Washington football team. It's a very good price. You want to save even more money if you don't use Jamal Williams in that Lions game. You have Josh Reynolds, who is now the leading receiver, at least based off the Thanksgiving game, a $3,400 against a Minnesota pass defense, which is fine. It's not great by any means, and a 7-point dog. You'd have to assume that they have to pass a ton in this spot. So if you want to save beaucoup bucks, it's down with Josh Reynolds at $3,400. Then you go to tight end. I like paying up for Kittle. In fact, you can pay up for Andrews too if you want to stack him with Lamar, which is going to be a very low-owned stack this week. But there's very clear one option from the lower end. I just mentioned it. No Darren Waller. Foster Moreau, the island of Foster Moreau, is $2,700 against this Washington football team. It's not a free square because, listen, running backs are really the only backups you want to put in and have a abundance of confidence with. But Foster Moreau, the last time Waller was out, absolutely came through, played almost 100% of the snaps. He didn't do much against Dallas, but didn't have to because by the time that Darren Waller exited that game, the Raiders were up, and it was just mainly running from them in that circumstance or going deep. I think in this game, which projects to be a shootout against Washington, Foster Moreau at $2,700 is the path that you want to take. Those are the top stacks and value plays for the Week 13 DraftKings slate this weekend, so check them out. I'm Pat Mayo.
Welcome back to The Sweat. Let's take a look at some teams that are currently outside of the playoffs but have the best odds to get back in according to the DK Sportsbook. So entering Week 13, the Vikings lead the way with the best odds to sneak into the postseason at -110, with Indy and Philly both near the top of the list as well. And with their loss on Thursday to Dallas, New Orleans' number has already started to drop from the +225 it had at the start of the week. Minnesota -110, Indianapolis +125, Philly +175, Cleveland +225, Denver +225, New Orleans +225, Las Vegas +250. Okay, this leads us to a new segment here on The Sweat that we are calling the Playoff Picture. If you see the graphic on the screen, we are being very clever and cute and sneaking the word pick in there so you can see where this is going. Our friends Steve and Julian are standing by, and they're going to pick their favorite playoff futures bet on the DK Sportsbook right now. So this can be a team to make the playoffs, win a division, win the whole thing, or even a current playoff team to miss the postseason. So without further ado, let's send it over to Steve and Julian.
Thank you, Jessie Coffield. And here we are, Steve, for our new segment, Playoff Picture, which Steve thinks is very creative.
Oh,
You've probably heard
great
him
job, guys.
audibly laughing out loud here in the studio at that amazing joke. So let's make some picks,
Okay.
Steve. Why don't you lead us off with your favorite future here?
So I like taking the Patriots today to get the #1 seed in the AFC. I think there's a very legitimate chance that they can do this. They're arguably one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. Now, they have to overcome a couple of teams to get there, obviously. You look at the Baltimore Ravens. I don't love their schedule for the rest of the season. You look at their face, and the Steelers today win, so there's that. But then Browns, Packers, Bengals, Rams, and then the Steelers again. Not exactly a favorable schedule. You look at New England. If they can beat Buffalo on Monday, the schedule is pretty easy peasy after that. And also, they have the bye week still in Week 14. They're the only team amongst these teams that still have the bye week, so they're going to be looking so fresh and so clean coming into Week 15. But if they beat the Bills in this one, they have the Colts, the Bills again, and then Jacksonville and Miami to close out the season. So I think you're getting a really solid number here, a +500 for a red-hot Patriots team to get this #1 seed. Obviously, some things have to fall into place, but looking at how the schedules go out here, and if they beat Buffalo, I think they got this wrapped up.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the take of the Pats to get the 1 seed. I disagree maybe with the timing. Obviously, you can't go back in the past, but
Sure,
this
of
is
course.
if you want to go back to the middle of this 6-game win streak, we're looking at +1,000, +1,200, better numbers, so you're not taking it. You're kind of buying at the wrong time, I guess. But also, you mentioned betting it today. I don't hate trying to bet it tomorrow on Monday and potentially getting a better number. You have, as you mentioned, the Ravens 4-point favorites over the Steelers. I don't think that's necessarily a layup, but if you want to go with the odds, you say Baltimore's going to win. You got Kansas City sitting at 8-9-point favorite on Sunday Night Football. They should beat the Broncos at home. If both of those teams win, now we're maybe looking at a little boost to the Pats before that game gets played against Buffalo. Maybe you get +550, maybe you get +600. I think it could be worth waiting. So I don't hate the bet. I just think maybe you want to time it a little different. But going to my game, it's kind of going to tie in with one of my best bets of the day. I am laying the 3 with the Cincinnati Bengals at home against the Chargers. And what I think that's going to do is knock the LA Chargers out of the playoff picture. You can get them at even money to miss the playoffs. This is one that I do think you want to bet right now in the next 30 minutes before that game kicks off. I think they're going to lose this game to Cincy. They have an easier game against the Giants, and then it's a Thursday night football game against the Chiefs. Chargers beat the Chiefs the first game around. That's going to be a revenge spot for Kansas City, who's getting some momentum in that division, getting some momentum in the AFC. So I think the Chargers are going to lose 2 of their next 3 games. This is a team everybody's very high on Justin Herbert, maybe a little too high on him in the public perception due to some of his early success. The team has some holes, and they've lost some silly games, and I think they're going to lose 2 of their next 3, and then we're going to be laying -200 maybe to miss the playoffs. Now's the time to take this one.
Yeah, you look at some of the other division teams in that division playing today. Like the Raiders should beat Washington, right? And that's what the perception is. -2 on that one, so that obviously boosts the Raiders' chance of making the playoffs. And if you think that the Chargers are losing this game, which we both are in agreement in, that doesn't exactly help their case too. This Chargers team has just been so incredibly odd. First 5-6 weeks of the seasons, they look like they're a team that was destined to make the playoffs. Now they're quickly falling out of contention, and it doesn't help that some of the other teams in the conference are doing much better, like the Patriots or even the Colts, who are kind of trying to come back from the dead and make the playoffs here, furthering the chances of the Chargers to not make the playoffs in this spot. So I think that's a solid play on this one too, especially when you look at the upcoming schedules for some of the teams in that division. A lot of divisional games there, which is not going to be helping the Chargers' case in my opinion. So I think that you do take that today, like you were saying, you can take that.
You got like 30 minutes to take
Yeah, you got like 30 minutes to take it, so hurry up. So we better get it back to the very elegant looking Jessie Coffield so you can go take this bet now.
Oh, Steve. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
You're going to be back later to give us your favorite plays of the day when we make it rain. But first, Emerson is standing by with someone who has played more NFL games than everyone on this show combined. Our friend, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah.
All right, it's time to do that thing you like and welcome in the beefy boss, Ross Tucker, the former NFL lineman, here to give his takes on the Week 13 slate. So injuries galore last week, dude, including in San Francisco there. Deebo Samuel, the team's best wide receiver, maybe the team's best running back now. He's going to miss a week or two with a groin injury. But I guess the good news is they're facing the 49ers are the spiraling Seahawks. You still taking San Fran even without its best weapon?
Yeah, I am, and it's a disappointment that they won't have Deebo Samuel. He's been fantastic. I mean, he really is like one of the top 10 running backs in the NFL right now, but he's a wide receiver. It's crazy. But Elijah Mitchell was awesome a week ago. They'll continue to grind with Elijah Mitchell. Look, the Niners have figured out who they are, or at least they've gotten back to who they are. They run the ball. They play good defense. They mix in some play action passing. And the Seahawks have really struggled, conversely, up front. You know, they're getting their butts whooped up front, both sides of the ball. Washington football team at over 40 minutes time of possession on Monday night. This might be the game that the Seahawks figure it out and turn it around. But I'm betting on these trends that continue until proven otherwise. Give me the Niners.
Yeah, they've been that favorable bet for sure over the past month. You know, there's another team that's going to be missing. It's running back most likely on Sunday. That's going to be Dalvin Cook with the Vikings. It always seems like Minnesota here is locked into these one possession games. It always seems like they're very, very tight. But hey, take it on Detroit. Is this the week? Is this the week Detroit gets win number 1?
I don't think so, man. It's funny, too, by the way. We talked about it this week on the Even Money podcast. You know the Vikings have had at least a 7-point lead in every game?
Crazy.
I mean, that is bananas. So I'm predicting right now that happens. And the Lions aren't going to have DeAndre Swift. And they just don't have a whole lot of offensive weapons. He's clearly their number one guy. So while it's not good for the Vikings without having Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison has been really good. For the Lions, without DeAndre Swift, they have very, very little. TJ Hawkinson, maybe a little bit of Jamal Williams. I think the Vikings bounce back from the tough loss against the Niners and going to win over the Lions.
By the way, and speaking of the Lions, because of that tie against Pittsburgh, they actually had a better record in the month of November than the Rams did. The Rams, that they loaded up to make another Super Bowl run. They've lost 3 straight. It's tough. Imagine them losing 4 in a row. Double-digit favorites here at home against America's team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a get-right spot for LA in your mind?
You took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, this is a get-right game for the Rams. They had to be so happy when they looked at the schedule and they saw, oh, thank goodness, after losing these games in a row, we got the Jaguars at home. They need to get their offensive and defensive lines back to the way they were playing before the Titans kind of beat them up on Sunday Night Football. But I think the Rams win. I think the Rams win going away. I don't like to lay this many points in the NFL, but that's the only side I could look to is the favorite and the Rams laying that big number.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey is just foaming at the mouth right now, ready to get a little bit of revenge, I guess, against the Jaguars. Going to cause some headaches for Trevor Lawrence there. Your Eagles are back in the Meadowlands here, man. Second straight week, this time to face the Jets. That offense did not look good against the Giants last week here. Do you think the Birds can get it done? Second straight week inside MetLife.
Yeah, I'm laying the points with the Eagles. Now, Jalen Hurts a little bit beat up, something to monitor. He's got that ankle issue. But listen, man, they're not going to lose the turnover battle 4-0 again. They're not going to have Jalen Hurts throw 3 picks in the red zone, Boston Scott fumble in the opponent territory. They had almost everything that could go wrong, did go wrong to lose that game against the Giants. Plus, the Jets got their win over the Texans. Feels like the Jets win a game every 3 or 4 weeks. They get happy and get blown out for a couple of weeks. Oh, man, we got blown out a couple of weeks. We got to come back, win another game. They're in the cycle of being happy that they won last week against the Texans. They're ready to get blown out by the Birds.
Yeah, Jets aren't good against teams with winning records, and they're just 1-6 ATS against teams with a losing record. And then on paper, I'm looking at this Ravens-Pittsburgh game here, Ross. It doesn't look all that close. I mean, Baltimore here hasn't been getting any style points lately, but now all of a sudden Pittsburgh is also in desperation mode. So who do you think comes out on top in this AFC North battle?
So neither team playing great. The difference is the Ravens are finding ways to win. The Steelers are not. The Steelers were absolutely embarrassed by the Bengals. I expect them to bounce back. I expect them to play better, but I can't expect them or pick them to win. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. It's uncanny how many close games, how many times the Ravens have been behind and they've still been able to go ahead and win the game. I'm taking the Ravens. Close game, though, so you got to keep an eye on the number. Make sure you get the better of the number.
It seems like a good trend, too, for your pick there. 'Cause last 7 games at home, Steelers 1-6 ATS. Take us to a Week 13 game total that catches your eye here on the DraftKings Sportsbook. And if you're going
Chargers
over
the
under.
Bengals. I just think there's going to be a lot of points. I think this is a Herbert, Burrow, second-year stud shootout. The Bengals have proved they can score on anybody. The Chargers have done that at times this year as well. And even last week, I thought Roethlisberger, if he hadn't thrown some of those picks, that the Steelers could have moved the ball okay. I think there's a lot of points in the Chargers and the Bengals. I like the over in that game.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest ones there on the slate. How about on the fantasy side of things for all of our DFS fans? Who do you expect to go off on this main slate in Week 13?
Alexander Madison. Now, I know he'll probably be pretty popular, but listen, there's a reason. When Dalvin Cook doesn't play, Madison goes off. He has like over 20 fantasy points every time Dalvin Cook doesn't play. Get him in your lineup. He's still not a guy. People still like to go for the chalk guys a lot. So while he'll be a little bit more heavily owned, I still think Madison is a great play against the Lions for the Vikings.
All right, man, you know what we'd love to do before you take off? We like to turn our attention to Monday Night Football. And this week, it may just be the game of the week. You got the Pats aiming to push their win streak to 7 games. But this could be Mac Jones' toughest test in his young rookie year. It's on the road in Buffalo. First place on the line. How do you see this one playing out?
Well, I think it's going to be an awesome game, man. I think it's the game of the week. It's fortunate it's on Monday night. Can't wait for everybody to be watching it. Honestly, I think it's a field goal game either way. Both teams understand the importance of this contest. But if it's a field goal game either way, I'll take the team getting the points, right? I mean, if it's a coin flip, whatever kind of game, give me the points. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Patriots won the game. So I like the consistency that New England has shown for a couple months now, as opposed to the roller coaster up and down that we've seen from the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I know the Bills have been on extended rest, but hey, Patriots 4-1 ATS in their last 5 road games. Ross, love you, man. Mean it. And we will dive deeper into that AFC East showdown coming up with our primetime picks. Plus, we will look at last week's Millie Maker winning lineup and try to help you avoid this week's chalk plays in our pivotal roles segment. We are back right after this. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and today, new customers can bet $1 on any NFL game and get $100 if any points are scored. Plus, new fantasy players can play free for your share of millions this season when you make your first deposit. Use promo code SWEAT when you sign up. What's up, everybody? Welcome back here to The Sweat, presented by DraftKings on Bally Sports Networks. We told you earlier about the DraftKings Millie Maker contest, which offers anyone who enters a shot at $1 million. You can still enter that contest, by the way, and all you need is the right lineup. And if you don't believe me, just ask Tommy Mac 84, who came up with this lineup last week. Brought home a ginormous $1 million prizes. Running backs were on fire, with Leonard Fournette and Joe Mixon coming in as his top scorers in a lineup that put up more than 225 points. Now go channel your inner Tommy Mac 84 right now and build a life-changing lineup. We got some analysts here to offer up some advice. Jeff Ulrich, Pierce Dietrich, Reed T. Fowler, talking pivotal roles, guys. I'll give you a potential chalk play in Week 13. You guys tell us who to pivot to at these positions, or maybe just eat the chalk. So let's start off a quarterback. Tom Brady, $7,200 at Atlanta. Feels like a good bounce back spot for him. Had his second worst fantasy point performance last week against the Colts. Reed T. Fowler, what do you want to do?
Yeah, I don't mind if you want to stick with Brady, but I talked about this guy in the first segment that Steve absolutely despises, and it's Matt Stafford at $7,300. Go $100 above, and you take a look at what he's done. Look, I talked about Geno Smith and what he did against this Jacksonville defense, and I know that was a while back, but Geno Smith finished as QB8. He scored over 22 fantasy points, and if that Seahawks team can put up that against the Jaguars, think about what the Rams and Sean McVay, who need this, absolutely need this, in this game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Stafford, you pay up $100 more. No one's going to be on this guy. Give me Stafford.
Jeff, you want to eat the chalk here? Because Falcons giving up the fourth most points per game to quarterbacks on DraftKings this season, north of 20.
Yeah, it's a good spot. It does seem like, Brady's going to be quite popular this week, though. And I mean, like Leonard Fournette is running well. I think it's a fine pivot spot, to be honest. Reed mentioned Matt Stafford. I agree. Like, if you're going to pay up for a quarterback, you should be looking for lower owned plays. And nobody seems to want to play Lamar Jackson this week for whatever reason. I mean, maybe they're scared off by the 4 interceptions last week, but as I'm just gonna, if you haven't been watching football the last year, like Lamar Jackson likes to run the ball, Emerson. And the last time I checked, the Steelers' rush defense, they allowed 90 yards to Justin Herbert. What do you think Lamar Jackson is going to do to this defense? Steelers have been very bad against the run. Cam Hayward out. Joe Hayden out. Their defense is still banged up. I think this is a very, very good spot for Lamar Jackson to hit the 100-yard rushing bonus, and I like pivoting to him. He looks like he might be like half or less the ownership of Brady this week.
Yeah, and let's not forget about that passing defense, too, which ranks 26 against the pass, that Pittsburgh passing defense, so he could emulate that early.
That's not very good.
No, it's not. I can't confirm that, Jeff. Pierce, oh, boy, you're staying in the same game, but you're going to the other side for your quarterback. Feels kind of gross.
It's dangerous. It's risky to go with Ben Roethlisberger. But if you want to play narrative streak, he announced it to his team this week secretly that this is probably the end of the road for him. Aside from narrative streak, the Ravens have 16 players on the injury list that did not participate in practice or were limited in practice. Many of them are in the secondary. Many of them are key personnel. And this pass defense is already 24th against the pass. They're injured. Pittsburgh can't run the ball. They're facing a good run defense. You're going to see a lot of volume against a not-so-good pass defense that's not quite healthy. It does not take much for him to pay off this price tag. I like Big Ben in this spot.
Yeah, there have been a few worse fantasy quarterbacks this season than Ben Roethlisberger. And how about that secret, too? Well, what a well-kept secret that we all know about now. Let's go to running back Alexander Madison. All right, $7,600 at Detroit. Pierce, you want to eat the chalk? You want to go somewhere else?
I'm not going to eat the chalk. I'm going to continue to go with the volume theme. I think Ben Roethlisberger is going to get a ton of volume. Joe Mixon's going to get a ton of volume, 28 carries and more in each of the last 2 games out of the bye. Obviously, the Bengals did their homework and realized, hey, when we give this guy 16 carries or more, we're undefeated. So they're going to continue to feed the ball. I would not be surprised to see him get 30 carries. And it's not just 30 carries. It's 30 carries against the worst run defense in football. It's week 13. If you're the worst in defense at running, it's not going to change this week. Mixon is going to crush the Chargers.
But, Jeff, this guy, Madison, handles 100% of the workload when Cook is out, and he shredded the Lions for 30 DraftKings points in their last matchup.
He did, but I mean, Alex Madison, he's not that good. And people have a very short-term memory because we've seen Madison last year. He was in the same spot. He got 8 DraftKings points. He has busted in this spot before, and people just seem to forget that has happened. If you're going to eat some chalk this week, go with Antonio Gibson. He's way cheaper, and he's in the exact same spot as Madison, and he's a better player than Madison. The Washington football team gave him 7 targets last week, and he caught all 7 of them. J.D. McKissick is out. It's the exact same spot that Madison is in. And by the way, you mentioned touches. Like, I'd be a little bit scared if I was playing Madison. They got this guy, Kenna Wangu. I have not confirmed that pronunciation. He is a rookie. He has returned multiple kick returns for touchdowns. They're going to give him snaps. And I would not be shocked if Madison got off slow that Wangu, again, have not confirmed that pronunciation, eats into his carries.
It may be tougher to find a cheaper RB1 on the slate today than Gibson at $5,700. Reed T. Fowler eating the chalk, pivoting somewhere else at running back. Tell me.
No, I got a note from a one Steve Buchanan that based on that Ben Roethlisberger pick, old man likes old man. When Peter Dietrich mentioned Ben Roethlisberger, that's Steve's
I
words.
am probably the oldest person here.
Right, that's Steve's words, not mine. But I made sure the same sentiment as Steve. But I really appreciate Jeff trying to pronounce that backup's name in Minnesota. Just go Kenny. Just do that, Jeff. But look, Madison, let's not forget Detroit Lions. They're a bad rush defense, right? They are not great. So fine, what have you. If you want to play Madison, I don't mind it. Yes, he's not as talented, and he gets that moniker because he's playing behind one of the best running backs that we've seen in Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook always gets banged up. What about Eli Mitchell, guys? $6,000, and why I think it's okay to pivot at running back is because there's so much value in that mid-range. Antonio Gibson, James Conner, and some of the guys that are still there, like Eli Mitchell at $6,000. He got passing work last game, and this guy gets a ton of volume. Seattle's defense, they're 11th in rush defense, so they're not bad, right? They're by metrics standpoint. But let's not forget how many plays these guys were. That defense was in on a Monday night. 74 plays on Monday night. It was so bad for that defense. They were on the field for so long. They're going to be gassed later in this game. And Eli Mitchell, that's when this guy really lays on it. And if San Francisco's up, which they should be, I think Eli Mitchell's in a great spot at $6,000.
Yeah, will definitely help with Deebo Samuel being out. How about a wide receiver, guys? Cooper Kupp is $9,000. That's the second highest priced player on the main slate today in Week 13, behind only Jonathan Taylor. Pierce, you're going to eat the chalk here, dude, even though it feels like OBJ is starting to eat into a little bit of his production.
Get out of here. You crazy.
What?
Come on.
Hey, I'm just saying,
What are you talking about? No.
Beckham matched his targets last week. 10 targets each.
Oh, give me a break, man.
Get out of
Come
here,
on.
Emerson.
Look, Kupp's going to go
just bodied him.
underowned. I don't think it's going to be the Beckham story that leads to his ownership being low. It's at a high price tag. People are worried about the blowout. But you really shouldn't worry about the blowout. You can look at 2 games earlier this season where the Rams won big time, and he only ran 22 routes and 26 routes in those games. But in both those games, he got 7 of 10 targets for 100 yards and a touchdown. In the other game, he caught 9 of 12 targets for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. If this game blows out, it's going to be because Kupp blows up.
Okay.
If it's a close competitive game, then Cooper Kupp's going to be out there with 15 targets, 100 yards, and you're going to get low ownership.
All
Why
right,
not?
Reed T.
That's crazy.
Reed T. Fowler, man, I mean, is he worth paying up for because it's a game that projects for very low throwing volume? His role could be smaller than we anticipate.
Yeah, Van Jefferson also cutting into Cooper Kupp's. No, come on, Emerson.
What?
What are you talking about? No, look, you're right.
Thank you.
You're right.
I make great points.
Because this team has an implied team total of over 30 points. Then yeah, like I get what you're saying there, but no, I'm going to eat the chalk with Cooper Kupp. If you look at his games at home, this guy's getting like 12, 13 targets a game. He's just been amazing in terms of what he does. His targets per run is fantastic. And if the Rams want to get back on, which I do think they can against the worst pass DVOA in the NFL, the Jacksonville Jaguars, then they have to get Cooper Kupp. He just has to get him going, right? That Stafford loves. We know the connection. It's been there for a while. Get back to what was winning you games at the beginning of the year, and that's Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford. So yeah, eating the chalk there.
Let's go to Jeff, who I trust the most. He's going to save you $800 and realizes like it's not worth paying up for Kupp.
Look, I am cheering for an Odell Beckham 3 touchdown game.
Me
right
too,
now. That's
dude.
For sure. That's 100%. It's not so much that I want to pivot off of Kupp. I mean, I think he's good. I think the usage is going to be there, and I think you do want to pay up a wide receiver. And when we get to tight end, you're going to see there's a lot of value there. But if you one player, like if you are going to pivot off of Kupp, Justin Jefferson has outscored Cooper Kupp the last 3 weeks by a pretty dramatic margin. Everybody is playing Madison. Everyone's going to be focused on the Vikings rush defense. The Detroit Lions pass defense is the weakest part of that defensive system by far. I think one really unique way to build lineups this week is play Jefferson and Cooper Kupp together.
Ooh,
Pay up massively
wow.
at wide receiver. These are the top 2 wide receivers in fantasy right now. Play them both. They're both in fantastic matchups. So it's not so much that I want to pivot off of Kupp, but I think Jefferson is actually the slightly better play and should be lower on.
Yeah, 22 points against Detroit earlier this season. We are tight on time. We don't have time for tight ends, but I will just say Pierce like James O'Shaughnessy at 2,600, Jeff Foster Moreau 2,700, and then Reed is just making it rain. Rob Gronkowski at $5,300. But nice work, guys. Pierce and Jeff, please stick around. We need your favorite plays for this week's primetime games coming up. But first, here's our friend of the show, Gary Vaynerchuk, to tell you all about one of his DraftKings podcasts.
Hey guys, it's Gary V. Make sure you tune in to DraftKings YouTube channel for Die Hard Dialogue, where each week we do a listener league, DFS, and give away some of my highly valuable football cards, and we boost one prop bet. Die Hard Dialogue, DraftKings YouTube channel.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and today, new customers can bet $1 on any NFL game and get $100 if any points are scored. Plus, new fantasy players can play free for your share of millions this season when you make your first deposit. Use promo code SWEAT when you sign up.
Welcome back to The Sweat, presented by DraftKings on Bally Sports Networks. I'm Jessie Coffield. I am joined by DraftKings contributors Pierce Dietrich and Jeff Ulrich, and it is time to talk primetime picks. We're talking Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football. So start us off with your favorite DFS play for Broncos Chiefs tonight, Pierce. You're going with a guy who's going to be the Broncos lead back with Melvin Gordon out.
Yeah, Javonte Williams is where everyone is going to go, and rightfully so. This is a great spot. People have been clamoring for him to get more work, and he's finally going to get it. He's facing, and it's basically the perfect spot. Kansas City is one of the worst run defenses in football, allowing 4.6 adjusted line yards per carry, and Denver has the 5th best offensive run blocking unit at 4.6 yards per carry. Williams, 4.9 yards per carry this season. You give him 20 carries, it's 100 yards against an average team, but this is a below average team. He should get somewhere near 30 carries. I expect him to have a big-time game tonight.
And Jeff, you like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's coming off the bye week, seemingly fully healthy. He had like a stomach thing on Friday, missed practice, but is expected to play.
Yeah, and I mean, again, like Pierce mentioned what the mentality is of kind of everybody looking at this game. I mean, everyone's excited to play Javonte Williams, and maybe it does work out. I think Javonte Williams looks good out there, but like you got to give the Chiefs a little bit of credit. Their rush defense has been a little bit better of late. They haven't allowed big gains on the ground, and their offense is becoming more efficient. I don't know how many carries Williams is going to get. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire has a chance to get a lot more carries. He averaged 5.2 yards per carry in his last game. Denver's rush defense has not been good. 5th worst in the league in terms of yards per carry the last 3 games. I think Edwards-Helaire has a big game here, and I think you're going to see his usage go up over last game.
All right, Jeff, hit us with your favorite bet for this one.
I mean, I love Byron Pringle in this spot, man. I mean, this is a player who's just not getting much love. He's essentially just asserted himself as the wide receiver, too. He's playing like 60% of the snaps. This is a player averaged 24 yards per reception his last year at college, over 23.5 receiving yards, and maybe even to score a touchdown here at plus 350. I love both of these bets. Again, just going over his last couple games, 5 of his last 7 targets, 83 yards over his last 2 games. It's a player who's out there all the time. He's got Patrick Mahomes. He's got a very, very low yardage prop. I'd go over on them.
Pierce, you're betting on Mahomes to throw an interception today.
I am. Give me the over 0.5 interceptions on Mahomes. Denver has an interception in each of the last 4 games, 6 in total, and Mahomes has thrown 11 interceptions this year. It's among the worst in the league. People say, oh, well, some of those interceptions were his fault. Well, whose fault is it? Who's throwing the football? We're deep enough into the season that if he's thrown 11 interceptions, he has some issues. He's making some poor decisions, however that is, and Denver's picking the ball off, and he'll probably throw another interception tonight.
All right, let's go to Monday Night Football. Arguably the game of the week. We got Pats, we got Bills. Pierce, I'm pretty surprised with your DFS play for this one. You're going with Emmanuel Sanders, and after having like a few multi-touchdown games in the first few weeks of the season, he hasn't scored a touchdown in a while.
Yeah, Emmanuel Sanders has not been kind of the breakout player that we might have expected for the Bills, but one thing we know is Bill Belichick takes away the other team's best player. Stephon Diggs is going to have some trouble. So if the Bills are going to win this game, they're going to have to work the ball to Emmanuel Sanders. If you look at receivers with 25 catches or more, he leads the league in average depth of target at 16.1 yards. The Bills can't run. They're not going to dink and dunk their way to victory. They're going to have to hit big plays, and that means you're going to see plenty of action from Emmanuel Sanders.
All right, Jeff, you're going with Damian Harris. Any concern about that target share with Ramondre Stevenson?
Yeah, there's absolutely concern here. But, I mean, you look at this game. I mean, it's got a 41.5. I think it's down to 41 in terms of an over-under. Like, what kind of game we expect? We're expecting a grinded-out, kind of slower-paced game. And I think if you look at the outcomes of this game, if the Patriots are going to win this, I mean, they're probably going to take the page out of some of the other teams that have beat up on the Bills, and that's Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor. These guys just destroyed this Bills defense. I think Damian Harris is just as quality a runner of those guys, and I think with Brandon Bolden questionable, I think you'll see him grab a slightly bigger, snap share here. So I really like paying up for Damian Harris, especially if you're on the side of the Patriots tonight, or Monday night, excuse me. All
right, Jeff, and for your best bet, you're going to stick with Damian Harris for this one.
Yeah, again, I mean, I definitely think like the 3-point, you could take the Patriots, as plus 3-point underdogs. I don't mind that, but I think I think the line is correct. I don't see like a ton of value in either side. So I like going to the player props, and I like betting big on Damian Harris. Again, you look at outcomes of this game. If the Patriots are going to win this game and win this game big, and I think that is an outcome. We've seen the Bills, lose out to good rushing teams. Damian Harris probably having a massive game, so why not go massive on him in a player prop on the DraftKings Sportsbook? You can get plus 2,000 for Damian Harris to hit 125 rushing yards and a touchdown. He's got that game in him, and again, we've seen the Bills give up those kind of games before. So big time bet there, big odds, and I kind of like it for Monday night.
All right, Pierce, what do you like for Monday night?
I'm on the same page as Jeff. Give me the Patriots money line. If you look at both these teams together, they're pretty even in terms of matching up in pretty much every phase. But the difference is the Bills have a better receiving attack, whereas the Patriots have the much stronger rushing attack. I'll take the better run game every single time. Give me the Patriots money line.
All right, good stuff, guys. Thank you for the primetime picks. And we are nearing kickoff here. Lineups are nearing lock. So for some help with that last-minute sweat, let's send it over to the master of moisture, Emerson Lotzia.
Wow! Wow, let's go.
Congrats,
Yeah,
man.
That was
I mean,
exciting.
yeah, got him onto something there. Reed, Steve, Julian, working up a sweat. Last minute DFS takes here on this Sunday slate. Reed, what do you got?
That Cincy Los Angeles Chargers game, I think that's been the chalky of the entire slate. I'm actually looking at that Washington Las Vegas game, and I think that Taylor Heineke, I think Derek Carr, I think Foster Moreau. I think there's a lot of guys that are in that matchup that can definitely get over that 50-point mark, which is what we're seeing, right? They kind of got there around 49, I think, throughout the week. But I do think that both of these defenses, they give up a lot of yards and a lot of points to basically every skill player, right? Washington's playing a little bit better. But at the same time, the Las Vegas Raiders, and trust me, I've watched a lot of their games.
Yeah,
and
we know.
about it on
we know
Twitter.
the passion you have for
Yeah,
them.
absolutely. They're one of the worst against the run and one of the worst secondaries. They're getting to the quarterback, but that's not it. That's not a lot. So,
Steve, what are you rethinking? Anything?
I think you just got to continue to play the chalk this week too. There's some really free squares this week. Antonio Gibson's way too cheap. Foster Moreau at 2,700, free square to put him into your cash lineups here. I would say don't be overthinking the chalk this week. There's a lot of guys you need to pay up for.
Jules, work up a sweat for us, dude.
Sure. I do like some of the chalky running backs. I like Joe Mixon a lot. I like Alexander Madison a lot.
Yeah.
But this Rams backfield situation is intriguing. Darrell Henderson, it sounds like, is going to be active, but not in the lead role. So hopefully that scares people away from playing somebody if Henderson was out, like a Sony Michel, who would be a much more popular play. If Henderson was out, yeah, I don't care, Steve. Sony Michel, 2-touchdown favorite at home against Jags. Give me some 4,300 Sony Michel on this slate.
I know you mentioned Alexander Madison, and as we now transition to our Make It Rain picks, so the player who is going to make it rain cash today in DFS, you go Madison. Feels like he's got that elite RB1 ceiling here. Is that why you're going that direction?
Not much to add. 51 carries in those 2 starts, 25 rushes for 113 yards, caught all 7 of his targets last time he faced Detroit.
Again, he's priced appropriately this time on DK, $7,600.
Yes.
All right, Steven, make it rain, please.
Yeah, real quick, Justin Jefferson, he absolutely torched this Lions team back in week 5. He should be able to do that
Vikings.
once again. His ownership is not going to be that high either. Give me Justin Jefferson.
And you know, Jeff loved him earlier, which goes to show.
Yeah, he read my article.
Yeah, you guys are on the same page. Okay, Fowler, bring us
yeah,
up.
I'm not going to that game like these two guys. But Steve mentioned him, Antonio Gibson. I think he's, with J.D. McKissick out, like if he was in, I think he'd be much more GPP viable, but he's viable across all formats. This guy's averaging close to 25 carries the last 3 games. His red zone usage is massive. He's going to get all the work.
Had 7 receptions last week, too.
Yep.
And, yeah, probably can't find a cheaper RB1 on the main slate.
I let's take a look at like a DK Metcalf and bring him back with like any Seattle, or excuse me, any San Francisco
You're
players.
upset with DK Metcalf.
Well, I
in
do
Seattle
think
now,
though, like
based off your
he
anger.
is
It's kinda weird.
I do think though, but like think about it. He's had bad games the last 3 weeks. He is that guy. If you want to win a GPP, I think you have to get him in there. And I think San Francisco, if you pair him up with any one of those guys, Eli Mitchell, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, you have a
Dude,
chance.
gentlemen, appreciate it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Next time we see you here on Bally Sports Networks, it'll be week 14. Can you believe that?
Good math.
If you don't want to wait, join us Monday through Friday on the DK YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch accounts from 11 a.m. Eastern Time to high noon. Have a great day.